Cars on the grid for the first of two races this weekend in the Clio Cup series. We have a round of the European Championship this weekend. We also are scoring points within Clio Cup France and as well the Clio Cup Eastern Europe Championship. So three championships in one race, and then you subdivide those as well because you have got the gentleman drivers for the older drivers and the Challengers Cup for the under-25s in each of those regions as well. These cars qualified for their first race in Q2, and Q1 is the race 2 grid. It's so that you don't have a completely destroyed weekend if you have a problem in either qualifying or the race, whereas quite often the timetable allows for Q1 and a race and then Q2 and a race on separate days. So, pole position to number 125, the car in the hands of, there he is, Jerzy Spinkovic, the Unique Racing car. All of these cars, of course, are the same, but they're run by different teams. 1400cc turbocharged pocket rockets that always deliver really, really good racing. And Renault one-mate championships have for many, many seasons now been a mainstay of international motorsport. Anthony Gerardo, who is going to line up second on the grid, another very rapid driver indeed, and has taken 4 wins this year in the Clio Cup Europe. He's taken 3 in the Eastern Europe Championship, but this is perhaps the benchmark driver. He doesn't just win races, he wins titles and he runs a fleet of cars. Nicolas Milan, who is the driver leading the championship, he has had 3 wins in Clio Cup Europe. He has had 3 wins in Clio Cup France, in which he runs second and slots into place then for third on the grid. And one of his customers, Marc Guillot, is going to line up fourth, normally to be found in a very yellow, very Renault liveried car, but in a different colour scheme for the second part of the season. The blue and white livery for Marc Guillot. Then fifth on the grid is going to be the orange car of Thomas Piccard, who is another of the regulars out of the Eastern European Championship. There he is, the Carpec service entry, Thomas Piccard, another driver to keep an eye on because he's normally pretty feisty. And then sixth on the grid is Alexandre Alboy, and he again has been one of the regular pace setters both in his European outings as well as in Clio Cup France in the GPA Racing car. GPA Racing is David Pouget's team, and David Pouget himself will line up 7th on the grid for this race. One car missing, René Steenmetz, because he had an engine drama this morning, so that car not on the grid. There is David Pouget for GPA Racing, a team that operates GT cars as well as in one-mate racing. David Pouget had huge success in Peugeots before coming into Renaults. He is third in the Europe Championship, but he's also the leader of, and he keeps winning this, Clio Cup France, in which he has had 5 wins. He's only had 1, though, within Clio Cup Europe. So the grid is formed already. We've got people under investigation, and the race hasn't started, and they are under investigation for leaving the pit lane on a red light. So that's going to be looked at after the race. It's a 1-by-1 staggered grid, as you can see. The car's stretching all the way down the pit straight, and in qualifying this morning, we had one car, which I suspect was René Steenmetz's car, that put a load of oil down, which rather hampered the programme for the rest of the day. But let's hope it's just going to be a good, fierce competition when we go racing. 77 there is the JSB Competition car of Joran Leneutre. Joran Leneutre then ready to go. He will start 9th on the grid, and 10th on the grid is Guillaume Maillot, who is another front runner. He is 6th within the Clio Cup Europe part of this race. So these 1400cc turbocharged 200 brake horsepower cars, all good to go. Last few cars stretching all the way around that final corner. Michelin tyres, it's a new tyre for this year, a little bit more degradation, some people tell you. The cars weigh in at 1,030 kilos. They've got 5-speed sequential gearboxes, and they traditionally, these cars and these drivers give very good racing, and driving standards on the whole very good. Yes, penalties are clamped down upon and driving standards stamped on early to try to instill that discipline, but racing normally very, very close, but without the almost stock car tactics that 1 or 2 one-mate championships have been synonymous for over the years. So Jerzy Spinkovic it is who will lead them away on this formation lap. The race 25 minutes plus the regulation lap at the end. And the field accelerates away then down towards turn 1, the Renault curve, with loads of runoff on the outside of that. At the back of the grid, number 85, set to get away. Benjamin Kovas sets off. There may be one car missing from that grid. We'll double check when they all return at the end of this lap then. So the grid is thus: Jerzy Spinkovics and Anthony Gerardo lock out the front row ahead of Nicolas Milan and Marc Guillot on row 2. Row 3 is where you find Thomas Picard and Alexandre Alboy, and then row 4, David Pouget, a man to watch, a little bit further down than normal, and Andreas Stucki, the Swiss driver, who's also pretty rapid. The 5th row is Joran Leneutre and Guillaume Maillot ahead of Philippe Sandstrom, and lining up alongside him, Alexandre Finkelstein. On the 7th row of the grid, Laurent Ziadus and Aurélien René alongside him. The 8th row is Leo Jusset, and a gap where René Steenmetz would have been, so now brought forward is Jeremy Bordegaray. On the next row of the grid, there is Quinto Stefana and Marc Fleurance ahead of the car of Nicolas Milkjovic, and then next on the grid is Pierre Montmenix. Lionel Viguier and Fabien Frazzo are next, ahead of Justo Pantila, and then Jacopo Giuseppe Ximenez. You have Stefan Polderman and Michel Fay next on the grid, ahead of Horn, Franck Horn, and Mathieu Rigolet. Henrik Seibel and Chen Han Lin come next, ahead of Benjamin Kovas and Cedric Delcroix to round out the grid. And yeah, as I say, with René Steenmetz being a non-starter, everybody else around moves up on the grid. So as the cars accelerate then now up towards the end of the formation lap, we will very shortly be good to go. Lots of drivers there, as you can see, flicking the cars left and right, urging the temperature into the tyres, ready to go racing. Number 101, Thomas Picard, going to start then from 5th on the grid. And traditionally, one would say it's going to be a battle between Nicolas Milan and David Pouget, but Pouget's just seemed to be lacking that last 10th on occasions this year. And Anthony Gerardo, who largely has got rid of his wildman reputation from last year, where he was incredibly quick, but if there was an incident going, seemed to be in the middle of it. Anthony Gerardo should be there or thereabouts as well. But Jerzy Spinkovics, we know he's quick, but he's not normally, with respect to him, somebody that is able to stay within that leading gaggle. He does lead the challengers standings within the Europe Championship. So for Jerzy Spinkovics, the under-25s competition, that's been the main focus, but an outright win would certainly be a good thing if he can do that. So to the grid they come, Gerardo in the blue and orange car, then the Castrol livery of player manager of Milan Competition, Nicolas Milan, then one of his, well, he's got a customer ahead of him, which is Anthony Gerardo. He's got a customer behind him, which is Marc Guillot, then Thomas Picard, and for 6th on the grid for GPA, the best of the GPA racing cars in the qualifying session this morning. This is, yes, it was this morning for this race, wasn't it? Alexandre Alboy. Then you've got David Pouget himself, who tends to come good as the race wears on. So even though he's not qualified brilliantly, don't discount the bright yellow and white car there. You can see it on the 4th row of David Pouget. So last cars slot into place. Chen Han Lin is there, and others creep into place. The drivers now look towards the lighting gantry. The Hockenheim circuit is relatively unusual in as much as the start and finish line are in the same place. So it's one line. The green flag is shown by the marshal at the back to say that the last car has stopped in place and we can go racing. The drivers look towards the lights. 5 red lights will go on. When the lights go out now, we will go racing. And a lot of wheel spin from Spinkovics and from Gerardo. And Nicolas Milan makes a lovely start. Gets ahead of Gerardo. Can he find a way past Spinkovics? Well, he might be able to have a go because Jerzy Spinkovics blocked Gerardo, left the door open for Milan on the outside line there as they dive into turn 1. So far, so good. They managed to get through the first right-hander at least and power their way up the short straight to the so-called Bernie Eccleston curve. At turn 2 onto the short circuit here, the circuit reprofiled many years ago. Spinkovic leads there. Milan second. Gerardo is third. Fourth, the white car of Guillaume. Fifth is everybody else, but it's going to be the orange car of Thomas Picard just with its nose in front then as they come now through turn 4 up towards the Parabolica for the first time and then towards the hairpin of the Spitzkehrer, fastest part of the circuit. This you can get a toe here, and that is exactly what Milan is doing, but he gets run out very much to the extreme of the circuit there by Spinkovic. Gerardo gets a toe off Milan as well. It's going to be the last of the late breakers into the hairpin. Spinkovic goes wide in, but he's absolutely mugged because through goes Milan and Gerardo. Guillaume gets up the inside as well to try to have a go as they come out of the corner. Others go wide. There's one facing the wrong way. We couldn't go a whole lap without drama, could we? So there's one in the background that's spun, but that car should be able to rejoin as the leaders dive down now towards turn 8. Milan leads the way in the Castrol-coloured car. Right there behind him is Gerardo. Spinkovic tried to dart back up the inside there, but he couldn't quite do it. Number 29 also looking aggressive. Alexander Finkelstein in one of the GPA fleet as the cars then now accelerate out of turn 11. Another short straight down to the stadium. Nicolas Milan leads into the stadium at the end of lap 1. Anthony Gerardo, he was quicker than Milan in qualifying, but he wants the race lead, looks up the inside. They're all in the same team. It is Milan's team, but there are no orders given here unless it's the last race of the year when a championship is on the line and they try and help Le Patron. But right now, it's every man for himself. Guillaume up the curb in the white car, and look in the background, fifth there, the yellow and white livery. David Pouget loses out because diving up the inside is there Alexander Alboy, and we go safety car. So everybody slows right down. Some saw the flags earlier than others, but the safety car is deployed then at the end of the lap. This must be for what went on up at the Spitzkehrer. The car in question, I would have thought, would have got going, but clearly not. So the safety car is deployed. So through they turn over the timing line, and at the end of the lap, time to catch breath. Nicolas Milan led from Anthony Gerardo. There is the car that was delayed, number 33 it was, Michel Fay. So that car back up and running. GM Sport entry. GM Sport Georg Mayo's team. Interesting how many people on the grid have their own team, which therefore helps to subsidise their racing. So I would have thought we can go back to green at the end of this lap. Yeah, it's confirmed by the race director. Safety car in this time. So the field now turns up to turn 2, and the pace will quicken. So yeah, one of those situations where you call for the safety car, and just as you do so, the car in question sets off again. So the race interrupted but briefly. And of course, Michel Fay at the back, he's going to take quite a bit of time to catch anybody else unless he's heading for the pit lane. So I think that's what's going to happen, actually. The car that has triggered this interruption does now come down the pit road. So safety car in this time. So Milan Gerardo for Milan Competition from the unique racing car of Jetse Spinkovic. Marc Guillaume for Milan is 4th. David Pouget for his GPA racing team is 5th. And Alexandre Alboy is in 6th place. And Alboy is another of the GPA customers. So Michel Fay comes into the pit lane, therefore last in the order right now is Chen Han Lin. And we await the race getting back underway then, which should be this time around. So it's 25 minutes and the regulation lap at the end. The safety car quickens its pace, steams away from the rest of them, as down now into the Sax Curve comes Nicolas Milan. And of course everybody else now bunched up onto the tail of the race leader. So Nicolas Milan controls the pace. He will accelerate away in a moment. The safety car peels into the pit lane. The competition Clios get ready to go. And another rumbustious 20 minutes is about to kick off as they come onto the pit straight. And Milan makes a beautiful restart to get away from Gerardo there by about 3 lengths. In third place it is Finkelstein, and fourth is Gio. Puget is fifth, Alboy is sixth. Seventh is Thomas Picard, eighth is Alexander Finkelstein, ninth is Jean Ledert, and 10th it is Guillaume Mayo, as there you've got a mirror flapping off one car as they dive down now through turn 1. So Milan leads the way, but Gerardo is on a mission to go with him. Jetse Spinkovic, of course, leads the Challengers Cup at the moment from Alexander Alboy and then Alexander Finkelstein. Jeremy Bourda-Garay heads the Gentleman Drivers contest, taking Clio Cup Europe into specific context here. We'll worry about Clio Cup France and Eastern Europe as the race goes through. So on track, Milan leads Gerardo, who pulls out of the draft to have a look for the inside line, diving up towards the Spitzkehre, but couldn't find a way by there. And now accelerating down towards turn 7. So what have we got in the line? 6 for the lead, pretty much. And any one of those 6 could easily dive through. Gerardo makes a move to the outside at 7, largely there by walloping the curb and tightening his line. Puget closing up onto the back of Gio. Turn through that left-hander, avoid the cement dust, the speedy drive put down earlier. And an incident involving Michel Fay under investigation. Now look, Gerardo is all over the race leader, Nicolas Milan. Like a rash, goes to the inside line there, coming down towards the stadium, but he can't do it. But while these two are squabbling, so it allows Spinkovic and Gio and Puget and Alboy a chance to get in on the act as well. Thomas Picard has lost out to Alexander Finkelstein now, who's gone up and passed him. 9th is Joran Lenertre, next in the queue as the leaders turn their way up now to the end of lap 3. And way off into the gravel goes 88. And that is Frank Horn, who is well and truly out of the race for GPA Racing. And I rather fear that that could be another safety car period. Let's see, because the car is going nowhere. So through goes the race leader, Nicolas Milan. Second place, Anthony Gerardo. 0.3 of a second, the margin between them last time around. So Frank Horn's car sits in the gravel on the approach to turn 13, and we await confirmation as to what's going to happen next in order to clear that, because if anybody else goes, why are they going to find it? There are 2 heading for the pit road as well, so we've lost another couple out of the race. The race leaders are up towards the Spitzkehre. Lionel Viguet is in, and also as the safety car is deployed, also into the pit lane now has come Philip Sandstrom, his debut in this championship, although he was the Junior Cup champion in Sweden a few years ago. So safety car deployed once more, and all of this is because of Horn's car, Frank Horn, there in the gravel, and it's not going any further than that. So the tractor is on its way to lift the car, get it out of the way, and again, you come to this perennial problem. You either have lots of tarmac, where people can run wide and abuse track limits, or you put gravel traps in, which ensnare the cars, and you have interrupted races. But the Hockenheim officials, well drilled at how to remove these cars, so they're quickly on the scene, ready to try to get Frank Horn's car out of the way as quickly as possible. Quick replay of how we've got to this point, with a good getaway by Nicolas Milan, jumping ahead of Anthony Gerardo and making a move on the outside into turn 1 of Jetse Spinkovic. So Nicolas Milan with the Castrol-coloured, Castrol-liveried car through, but it was really at the hairpin up at the Spitzkehre where he got the race lead. So Spinkovic led for half a lap, and then there was drama behind as Michel Fay got turned around and bumped out of the way by others as they came through. Then up towards the completion of the lap, out came the safety car. We went racing once more, and a good restart by Nicolas Milan. But then Frank Horn, with a bit of help from, by the look of it there, number 16 of Lionel Viguet into the gravel. So that's why Viguet perhaps came into the pit lane, because he's picked up yet more damage. And we're on our second safety car period as the cars now head up towards the timing line. Last year's race at Hockenheim, or races, had all sorts of fun and games, with one car losing a wheel on its way to the grid, and another one then with a delayed start falling into the gravel up at turn 2 on its way to the grid. When we got racing, it was good. Here we've got racing, but then the race is much more interrupted. So Frank Horn's car through the gravel as quickly as the tractor can go. so we can go racing at the end of this lap. And Nicolas Milon knows exactly how to treat these races. It's where you are towards the end of the 25 minutes, not the start. Keep out of trouble and then make your move. He's 5 times a French champion, Nicolas Milon. He's also won Clio Cup Spain. He was the European champion last year, the Euro Cup champion. Marc Guillot, who is 4th in the queue, triple French champion. David Pouget has won the Spanish championship. And the other driver that you've got in the mix, Anthony Gerardo, race winner last year. He's been runner-up in the French championship, but he's not yet had a title to his name. So as the cars now then come towards the Spitzkehre, the safety car will indeed peel in this time. We will go racing. So Nicolas Milon gets ready to try to control the restarts. Now, of those drivers that were in the pits a lap ago, I think one has come back out. So there's going to be one car running out of sequence, but it matters not to Nicolas Milon. He's not going to have to think about lappery. So he will lead from Anthony Gerardo. The clock, of course, ticking on down as we have these interruptions. Car that's rather delayed, just going over the timing line now, in fact, was the car of Philip Sandstrom, the TC2M entry. But those yellow flags are about to be withdrawn because we will go racing this time. Safety car set to come in. And Nicolas Milon, Anthony Gerardo, Jesse Spinkovic then are the leaders. Spinkovic looking for an outright podium as well as yet another Challengers Cup win. Could happen as the cars then up towards the completion of lap 5, 13 minutes and counting on the clock, plus that regulation lap still to go. So we're back and running, and Nicolas Milon leads the way. He also leads the French series part of the race. Anthony Gerardo leads the Eastern European part of the race. So they are the 2 leaders of the 3 divisions here as they come across the timing line. So Milon leads down towards turn 1, flicks the car into the corner and tries again to escape from Gerardo. Spinkovic running in 3rd, Guillot, Pouget, Alboy. Then it's Finkelstein, Picard, Leneutre and Guillaume Maillot in 10th place. So Jean Leneutre in 9th as there up the inside line goes number 9. Scrabbling through for position, Andreas Stucki, who dropped back a little bit at the start of the race, as there, 101 of Thomas Picard gets up alongside Jean Leneutre as they head towards the Spitzkehre. Leneutre to the inside, and is he about to make the move to try to get up into 8th place? Let's see, the white car of Leneutre on the outside on his Picard. David Pouget there makes a move and goes 4th at the expense of Marc Guillot. So the Milon driver ran out wide, and for GPA, David Pouget goes through for the race lead. Gerardo makes his move against Nicolas Milon, goes through on the inside line at turn 7, but Milon will have the inside line for turn 8. He's up the curb, brakes late into the corner. Gerardo might get the undercut here because Milon's got in too deep. Yes, Gerardo goes through, beautifully done. And Milon, as he gets back onto the circuit, loses out to Spinkovic, and that now leaves him prey to David Pouget, who's charging along behind him. Pouget doing the absolute best in the first sector on this lap as he got himself up onto terms with and then past Marc Guillot. So through they come, heading now into the left-hander of the Sax Curve, and there, a big dive down the inside. Number 25 that was, with a very brave pass to go through. Alexandre Alboy ahead of Alexander Finkelstein. They switch and switch again. So those 2 trading places and paint. Pouget on the back of Milon, who's up the curb again. And more contact there as Alboy gets into the back of Finkelstein, sort of muscles him into the last corner. The incident involving Franck Horn, it's under investigation, but now Anthony Gerardo has made good his escape look down towards turn 1. 3 turns with nearly a second of a gap in hand over Jesse Spinkovic. Nicolas Milon runs 3rd, David Pouget 4th, and it's Guillot. Finkelstein is 6th, 7th is Alboy. Jean Leneutre is in 8th. Thomas Picard 9th, and Andreas Stucki rounds out the top 10 as they dive now into turn 2. With his mirror flapping, Jeremy Border-Garay goes by. And the Milan customer leading the gentleman drivers element of the race. He scores points in the French championship only, not a European entry. Last year there was one overall European series with then regional championships, but this year it's been decided to have the European as a standalone, but you can decide whether you score points in that or not. So this a replay of way up onto two wheels, Alexandre Alboy muscling into the side of Alexander Finkelstein. That was the kind of two-wheel driving that French stuntman Remy Julien would have been impressed by. Milan dives to the inside of Spinkovic for second place at turn 7 and goes through. Forces Spinkovic out wide. Yes, he keeps his foot to the boards, but he's not going to be able to get the place back. Now David Pouget comes up to have a go at him. And as soon as Milan has cleared him, look, he pulls away. Down they come into the stadium, but Gerardo making good his escape. And again, the speed has always been there, but the mistakes are seemingly a thing of the past now compared to last year, where he was certainly quite ragged at times and aggressive at times. But Gerardo looking very impressive these days, and he leads. He's got the pace that maybe Nicolas Milan doesn't have. Milan tends to do this by being smooth and consistent and keeping out of trouble, but Gerardo has got the raw pace, and he's proving that as he comes up towards the timing line once more. So this will be the end of lap 7. Gerardo goes through. Great battles lower down the order there, as you see the rest of the field stream through, including Nikola Milpiovic. The Tempo Racing Team car of Nikola Milpiovic goes through, and that is currently quite a long way back in 17th place. So the field turns onto lap number 8 now, 8 minutes and change, plus a lap on the clock. Alexandre Alboy has done the fastest lap of the race now, 2 minutes 0.126. Qualifying was wet but drying, 2:11, so much better track conditions now than we had this morning. Milpiovic goes through, and then next in the queue as the cars go by is number 60, which is another out of the stable from GPA. So to Spitzkehrer they come. Gerardo's advantage at the start of this lap, 1.4 seconds. But if anything, that's now being whittled away by Nicolas Milan, who was a tenth quicker in the first sector. But it's Pouget who remains the danger, and a big drama at the Spitzkehrer. One tap sideways, sprints away, but with the pack scattering all around. We'll come back to that in a moment, I'm sure, in a replay. But as the leaders come down now through turn 7 and then up towards the stadium, let's have another look here. Contact. Let's see who gets turned around. 21, I fear. Yes. So that is the car of Stefan Polderman, the 2010 Belgian touring car champion, given a big whack. And of course, that also is one that runs in the Gentleman Drivers Contest and will fall down that class as a result. So the race leader coming up towards the timing line, and Gerardo's gap of 1.4 seconds last time, I would suggest, has come down. 1.4 it was, and 7/10 it is now. This is possibly why, because Gerardo had a big moment coming into the stadium. He caught it, kept the car on the edge, but lost time, and so Milan comes back at him as they head now up into turn 2. Third still is Spinkovic, and David Pouget has not really been able to make a move against him as yet. So to the parabolic go the leaders. We're on lap 9, 5 minutes and a half plus, and then the regulation lap at the end. But I would suggest that it's now 4 for the lead, and those 4 with Pouget locking up in the background are all closing up. They're concertinaing. Gerardo is certainly being caught now, look, by Milan, and Nicolas Milan is taking with him Jerzy Spinkovic and then David Pouget. So the leading 4 together. 5th is Marc Guillot trying to fend off Alexandre Alboy, but that's Pouget, who is always a danger. David Pouget knows, as I've said, how to win races and win titles in this championship. Maybe Milan is just slightly the quicker of the two, but there's not much to choose between them as the rest scrabble their way out of the hairpin there, including Henrik Seibel in the orange car. But there are the leading quartet. Down they come towards the stadium. So they're lapping at the 2-minute mark. They're going to have about 4.5 on the clock when they cross the line. So we're looking at probably 4 more laps yet. 2 laps, maybe 3 within the time, and then the regulation lap. But for the race lead, the gap has come right down. Alexandre Alboy is still hustling along behind Marc Guillot to try and get up with Jerzy Spinkovic for the Challengers Cup award. But for the outright lead, it is Gerardo ahead of Milan. Remember, Gerardo is leading the Europe section and the Eastern Europe part of the race. And then behind him, Nicolas Milan is leading the French element of this race. Over the timing line they go. That gap, 7/10, is now 3/10. It's on this. And now for third, they're pairing off a little bit because Spinkovic, defending from Pouget, is falling back. And the regular front runners know when to push in these races. Jeremy Bordegaray out of turn 1. He is still leading the gentleman drivers section of the race. Despite the damage done to the car, it's not slowing him at all as the leaders turn up to the Parabolica. This is lap number 10. So Gerardo to Milan, then gap back, Spinkovic ahead of Pouget. That's the next little fight that's going on. So there's that leading 4, and David Pouget mysteriously not able to make a move against Spinkovic. Gerardo has to cover off the middle of the road there pretty late into the corner to keep Nicolas Milan at bay. Does so, and Nicolas comes out of the hairpin crawling all over the back of his customer. But the customer care department is closed today. Nicolas Milan wants a win. Down they come into turn 7. Spinkovic's back at the races as well, so they've all closed up again for the race lead. David Pouget, if he is thinking of sitting there and waiting to see what pans out, I would think again, he needs to get on with this. He's sat there for long enough now and he's running out of options. Up they come towards turns 10 and 11. You sort of turn through that little kink at 9 and 10, and then turn 11 is a corner in itself. To the inside line comes Nicolas Milan, and now the pressure is on Gerardo, but it's also on Milan not to leave the door open to let Spinkovic get through. Into the Sax Curve they come this time. And absolutely nose to tail the race leaders. Benjamin Curvas is under investigation for causing a collision, but the 4 race leaders then head down now towards the Sud Curve. It remains Gerardo ahead, but only just as they turn into the right-hander at the end of the lap onto the pit straight now, heading up towards the timing line. Anthony Gerardo leads the way, but only just. Nicolas Milan trying to attack, trying to defend. Spinkovic third, Pouget fourth. Replay of a big whack there, which it ultimately brought 3 of them into the equation, but that was losing his braking coming into the corner that triggered all of that. And 85 it was that was the aggressor. Benjamin Curvas, as explained, under investigation for causing a collision. So Anthony Gerardo leads still from in second spot Nicolas Milan, and then you've got in third place still the orange car of Jerzy Spinkovic here, limping back to the pit lane with the damage. And in fact, I think having to pull to one side and, oh, hello. That's rather uncalled for. That was Cedric Delcroix, who rather believes that the Chinese Taipei driver Chen Hanlin had a hand in his earlier dramas. So I would have thought that for that moment, Cedric Delcroix may not necessarily be racing tomorrow, because to do something like that, whatever one's emotions uncalled for. Change of lead, because through at turn 7, as you saw, goes Milan, and now Pouget is on the attack. He knows he can't give away many points here, but as Milan gets the race lead, Pouget trying to get past Spinkovic, and it doesn't work. So side by side for the race lead again, are they? No, not quite. Gerardo pulls out and pulls back in again. Couldn't find a way through. Nicolas Milan hangs onto the place. Through they turn, and now brake for the approach to the Sax Curve. There is the car of Alexandre Alboy, which is still in 6th place, second of the Challengers Cup entries, but they're going to start their penultimate lap this time. This lap will take them to the end of the time, and then there's the regulation lap at the end of it, and it's going to be the same 4 for the lead, but a different order, with Nicolas Milan back at the head of the queue this time. So over the line goes Nicolas Milan. Anthony Gerardo now has to do the chasing, and he is just under 3/10 back. Cedric Delcroix is under investigation, perhaps not overly surprisingly. And for the race lead. Gerardo pulls out, pulls back in again. Spinkovic doesn't quite have the pace, does he, to stay with that top two. He gets back there when they delay themselves, but he doesn't have the outright pace in order to do this. Nose to tail. Race leaders now up towards the Spitz-Kehrer, and this is where Gerardo gets a tow. So Nicolas Milon possibly content to let him go, knowing that there's another lap at the end of this, but absolutely together. Milon covers off the inside line. Gerardo's going to have to go the long way round or break early and try and duck back up the inside coming out of the corner, which he can't do. This allows Spinkovic to close right up, but Pouget is nowhere, relatively speaking. He should have been there, ready to take advantage of anything that developed ahead of him, and as it is, he's got to make up a couple of lost lengths now. Diving down once more into turn 8 now. Gerardo again thinks about the inside line. Is he going to commit? And very nearly makes contact with Milon there, and that does give Spinkovic a chance to come back at him to the outside line. Gerardo gets out his elbows and fends off Spinkovic. Now Pouget comes into the mix as well. But all of that defensive driving from Gerardo, only for a couple of corners, gives Nicolas Milon a free ride down now into the stadium once again. Last lap coming up. And through they turn, heading into the braking zone. There to the inside line, looks, Pouget can't do it, and he's under attack now because Guillaume and Alboy have come back at him. So 2nd to 6th are all in a line, and Nicolas Milon may well have timed this to perfection because look, now he is driving away from the rest of them. Through they turn, heading to the timing line again. And onto the last lap. This is the regulation lap at the end of the 25 minutes. Nicolas Milon leading now by nearly a full second. It is 8/10 that he's got over Gerardo. And Gerardo, I can't see, to be honest, making that time back up. He's so busy having to defend now from Spinkovic and David Pouget, who's there in 4th, and then Guillaume and Alboy. So up towards the Parabolica, Gerardo under attack. What can David Pouget do about Jerzy Spinkovic for 3rd place and a spot on the podium? Spinkovic, in a way, doesn't have to worry about Pouget. His battle is the Challengers' Cup, but he wants an overall podium as well if he can do it. Don't bet against him, the way that things are panning out at the moment then, as the cars now head into the hairpin once more up at the Parabolica. Big squeal of tyres as they turn into the corner. Come out of the hairpin now with Nicolas Milon, by the look of it, having done enough. Contact very nearly there between Spinkovic and Pouget. And a little tickle in the back as they come through, but with the checkered flag imminent, it looks as though now Pouget is the man under attack from Guillaume as the cars come through. Down to the braking zone for the Sax Curve they come. And it is going to be, seemingly, a win for Nicolas Milon. He's clear. Turns out of the Sax Curve onto the power now, wriggling their way up towards the checkered flag. So Nicolas Milon, with really only one corner to go, comes up towards the line. Checkered flag is at the ready, and so it is going to be a race win for Nicolas Milon, who comes across the line to win the first race of the weekend in the Clio Cup Series from Anthony Gerardo in 2nd place, Jerzy Spinkovic 3rd, and David Pouget 4th. Marc Guillaume survives for 5th, and Alexandre Alboy in 6th place. Anthony Gerardo, you can imagine, a little bit frustrated about that, but he does win the Eastern European part of the race. Nicolas Milon then wins the race outright, and he also wins the French part, but Anthony Gerardo is the winner of the Eastern European section. Nicolas Milon, Anthony Gerardo, Jerzy Spinkovic to the top 3. The fact that Anthony Gerardo has gone storming along like this rather suggests that he's not very happy about life, and possibly felt that should have been his race, but it was not, and he lost out by 9/10 of a second. But he's not for slowing down, is he? That's for sure. So Anthony Gerardo feeling a bit miffed that that was an outright win that got away. Nicolas Milon, though, is a very happy man, that's for sure. So the cars make their way down to the pit lane. We shall await the drivers making their way up to the podium in due course. But a good drive, as ever, making a good fist of that, knowing when to push, when to back out of a move, and coming through to score yet another race win. So Nicolas Milon wins in the French Championship for the 4th time this year, and he wins in the European Championship for the 4th time as well. So Nicolas Milon takes the race win from Anthony Gerardo and Jerzy Spinkovic in 3rd place. David Pouget 4th from Marc Guillot and Alexandre Alboy ahead of Jean Leneutre and Andreas Stuckey 8th from Thomas Piccart and Guillaume Maillot 10th. Jeremy Bordegaray 11th, winning gentleman drivers ahead of Aurélien Renet and then Laurent Ziadus, Nikola Milkiovic 14th and Marc Florence in 15th place. All of these are a bit provisional given that there are time penalties and investigations still to come. Leo Jusset 16th ahead of Jusso Pantila, and then behind it was Pierre Montmenix. Fabien Fratso, another debutant, 19th, and Mathieu Rugelet rounding out the top 20. So, lively racing. Shame that we had the interruptions, but lively, that's for sure. And the regular front runners prevail, don't they? Nicolas Milon steps out of the car. A very happy man, because it's looking as though this could be yet another title in his illustrious Clio career. It's hard enough winning these races, never mind running a fleet of cars and trying not to annoy your customers. But Nicolas Milon takes the race win. Anthony Gerardo for 2nd place. And a really good drive that by Jerzy Spinkovic to take 3rd, the winning Challengers Cup driver. Nicolas Milon manages to get through another frantic race without hardly a mark on the car. The gentleman drivers winner, Jeremy Bordegaray from Laurent Ziadus and then Marc Florence, although that I think he's under investigation. And as I say, Jerzy Spinkovic's the leading challenger home ahead of Alexandre Alboy and then Jean Leneutre in 3rd in the class. So very happy Nicolas Milon will now make his way up to the podium. Jerzy Spinkovic for 3rd overall in the class win. And then Anthony Gerardo taking 2nd, but drivers as yet not dashing up the stairs. Nicolas Milon taking on some water at the end of another frantic race. So for their 2nd race, they will drive tomorrow. They've already had the qualifying session for it, which was on Friday afternoon. They will race tomorrow, so it'll be another jumble grid, and that race to look forward to tomorrow morning. Nicolas Milon for now getting ready to head up the stairs to the podium. 11:05 they will race tomorrow, just after. And we'll see whether Nicolas Milon can take yet another race win. Let's look back at the highlights of that opening race, as Jerzy Spinkovic made the best start, got the drop on everybody heading into turn 1. But it was up the Spitzkehrer, where Nicolas Milan and Anthony Gerardo wriggled past him, and Michel Fay was turned around, and that resulted in drama and a safety car. We went racing only for Frank Horn to get spat into the gravel, and that triggered another safety car period. Eventually it became a battle for race leadership between Gerardo and Milan. Milan made this mistake at turn 8. That opened the door nice and wide, and through went Gerardo to take over the race lead. There were more dramas further back, Stefan Poltman being turned around. It all got a little bit brutal in the midfield and back, but as the race continued, so Alexandre Alboy went two-wheeling into the side of Alexander Finkelstein, survived it despite the flapping mirror to the side of the car. More drama to come, and Cedric Delcroix was decidedly unamused at the driving of Chen Han Lin in the unique car, to the point that he made his feelings rather apparent when the cars next got side by side. Milan and Gerardo for the lead, contact avoided, but that brought Spinkovic back into the mix as the cars turned their way up towards turn 11, and Gerardo and Milan continued on squabbling. But in the end, it was Nicolas Milan who prevailed, and he would come through to take over the race lead, and yet another victory. His 4th of the year in the European Championship, his 4th of the year in Clio Cup France, and crucially outscoring main rival David Pouget, who was never really a factor in that race. So the checkered flag came Milan, and a race win for the French driver as the winners now get themselves ready on the podium. So the presentations are ready to get underway, and there is Anthony Gerardo, very unimpressed with Nicolas Milan, and Nicolas Milan trying to explain to Anthony Gerardo what was going on. Now bear in mind that Anthony's car is run by Nicolas Milan, so on the one hand you don't want to annoy your customer, but certainly Anthony Gerardo might need calming down after the podium. So Jerzy Spinkovic for 3rd place is on the podium, and Anthony Gerardo hopefully will now step forward as he does for 2nd place. Says well done to Jerzy Spinkovic, but you can tell off the face, thinks that should have been his win. But it is a win for Nicolas Milan. He steps forward in the Castrol overalls. Castrol, a partner of Renault, so he's allowed to wear the non-regulation overalls. And still, you can see his win is slightly tempered by the reaction of Gerardo. And they're still debating it. They're still discussing who was right and who was wrong. This might rumble on, and we shall hope that they make up this evening over a beer. So for Nicolas Milan, the French national anthem played. Anthony Gerardo still debating this, but hopefully they will come to a reconciliation this evening. Trophy then to Anthony Gerardo for 2nd place. He still wins the Eastern European Championship race within that. And now the Milan team say, look, just stop it for a minute for the podium. We'll worry about this in the awning later, come on. But Nicolas Milan takes the win. Seldom have I seen a less happy race winner. It's quite remarkable. Jerzy Spinkovic doesn't really know what to make of all of this, but he's had a class win and an outright podium, so he's cock-a-hoop. But Gerardo and Milan continue to discuss. It's one of the more embarrassing podiums for Nicolas Milan that he's probably been on. Anyway, the photographs aren't going to be that great because drivers weren't smiling, but the drivers are allowed away, and already the road is getting busy with cars for the first GT4 European Series race of the weekend, and that will be on track very shortly indeed here. But for now, from Hockenheim, it is a race win for Nicolas Milan, and we look forward to more action tomorrow, and we'll see whether Anthony Gerardo can put one across the team boss. For now, from Hockenheim and David Anderson, it's goodbye.